And we're going to talk about knives.
We're going to talk about knives, and we're going to talk about what you need in the kitchen and how to set yourself up.
And yeah, how to get through the maze of all these variety of
We
knives.
have a bunch of different knives here.
Yes, we sure do.
So let's talk about what to do and what not to do. Why don't
Well,
we first start off with what's underneath all these knives and why do we have it there?
well, why'd you put it there?
I put it there
What is
so
it? What
you
got
don't slip
there?
and cut my finger off. So if we start our cutting and we push our hand against the surface, it won't move this slick cutting board.
Oh, yeah, for safety reasons, obviously.
Right.
Because yeah, you don't want to chase your cutting board across the tape.
You don't want your friends calling you stubby.
Or slash. Let's talk about how they're made and how to select the knife.
Okay.
Because, you know, there's so much to do. And you told me your grandfather gave you this.
The Forstner is my grandfather's knife.
Yeah.
Nice
And,
wood handle.
yeah, and see, I mean, how long you think he had it?
Probably a long time. If you look at it, there's lots of little nicks and cuts, and it's a great knife. It's lasted a long time, and it still keeps on going.
Yeah, I actually still have mine from my apprenticeship. That's what I started out with in the business over 30 years ago.
Let's show.
I know I don't look that old.
So let's put our Forstner aside.
Actually, well, I wanted to talk about that
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit because there's a difference between, as you can see, the way they're made.
Yep.
This one is stamped and this one is forged. So stamped, they have this big thick sheet of metal, and it can basically a knife cookie cutter comes out and cuts out the blade, and then it's polished, and they put the edge on, and then they put the handle on, and then they put the logos on it. It's acid etched, and over the years it kind of disappears, but it's still kind of on there. But and it's the alloy is a stainless steel and carbon mix, and actually this one has quite a bit of carbon in it, so it's a little softer, a little easier to sharpen. The edge goes away a little quicker, but it's much easier to get the edge back on it than a knife that has a lot more stainless steel in it, because that makes it a lot harder.
Cool stuff, sir.
Heavy stuff.
Nice heavy knife.
Yeah, you can see it has a nice bolster here. It's nice and thick, and it's cut out, and then basically nowadays the way to do it is with a robot picks up the knife, they heat this part up, and they kind of push it together to thicken it up, and again it's filed down and polished up, and then pretty much proceeded like with a stamp knife. It gets all polished up, they set the edge on, sharpen it, put the handle on, and then also put the logo on even the stamp blade. I mean, the tang goes all the way.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, even though it's a stamp knife, it's still a good knife, and I'm not just saying that because I'm Swiss. Generally, the wood has 3 rivets, just like this one here has that synthetic, almost like a plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't see the rivets, but it still has the full tang.
Yeah, well, you got the Santoku in your hand. Why don't you tell me why would you use a Santoku versus a standard French knife?
Well, a Santoku, you know, it's a Japanese vegetable cutting knife, so it's for small cutting, so you want to do a little more accurate cutting. I mean, the French knife is your workhorse. I mean, you do a lot of chopping. This is more for detailed work.
Okay.
And it's not in not large amounts, because and not chopping. I mean, if you look at the blade, the way it's made, this one here has a nice curve to it, so it's made for rocking.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do the cutting, it rolls nicely.
And this has a flatter
This
edge.
is more of a flatter edge. A lot of people try to mimic what they do with a French knife, but it doesn't work that way. It doesn't have the rounded. This is more for a straight cut.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do the technique of the pivot point, you want to use the French knife because you pivot off the point, and then you do the pass through, or you go away from yourself or towards you, then that is a knife to use. I mean, if you're going to do a small amount of, say, julienne, carrots or whatever, I'd use this. If I chop a lot of onions or celery, I'm going to use my workhorse.
What are these little divots in the blade?
Oh, the Granton edge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Mr. Granton from England figured that out, that when you make these little indentations on the blade, so when you cut, the food doesn't stick to it because it has airflow underneath.
I see.
So yeah, that way you can continue to chop. As you can see there, originally it was done on the meat slicer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they first did it, because when you carved cooked meats or smoked salmon, and it was tough because the meat would stick to your blade.
You suck up to the edge of the blade.
Yeah, and that just, it gets the air underneath there, and it makes it a lot easier. And again, we have a beautiful garden here.
I see that we have different shapes, but there's also different styles of handles, like the Porsche design knife.
What I particularly like about the Porsche is it's very well balanced. I mean, this is the end of the handle here, that little knob, and very well balanced. And a person, whether they have a small hand or a large hand, it's going to feel comfortable. And if you chop a lot, I mean, since you're going to be pressing down on the handle, I mean, I like it how it flares out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very comfortable for a long period of chopping. So
Yeah, it doesn't have the guard, so if you can see, it's a nice smooth transition. So when you hold it in your hand and you're doing the chopping, you don't end up with the little sore you get on your
Yeah.
finger. So we've looked at the various chopping and slicing knives. What are these little ones for?
paring for small jobs, you know, when you have to trim off the ends of the carrots to peel your onion. And this is actually a tourné knife. Tournéing, when you tourné a potato or a carrot. So that takes a lot of practice.
Yes, it does.
That's not something you're going to do, just pick up a knife and do it. But a lot of people are afraid when they work with a paring knife, they actually grab the blade. You know, that's really not a problem as long as you don't pull the blade out. You can grab the blade no matter how sharp it is, it's not going to hurt you. Like the core of tomato or something. Or
Just
if you're
hold
gonna,
on tight.
Or if you're going to carve something, you know, I mean, you can hold the blade, just don't pull the knife out while you're holding on tight.
What are the don't do's with knives?
Well, first thing is, you don't ever want to put them in a dishwasher. So hand wash them with soap and water, rinse them, and then dry them off and put them away. Don't put them away wet, especially if you put one of these guards on them, because the moisture is then trapped. And even a stainless alloy is gonna get rust spots on there because the moisture is trapped in there. And it only says stainless, it doesn't say it's rust free. You don't never want to try to catch a folding knife. So folding knives don't have handles. You know what? Step away and put your hands out, let it go, and then pick it up and wash it. That way you're safe. But you don't never want to try to catch a folding knife, because guaranteed you're going to get the blade. Don't use your knife to give direction. Yeah. Well, another thing is, you don't want to go walk around with a knife in the kitchen when there's other people and you know, you walk around, that's dangerous. If you're going to go and walk around in the kitchen, I say, well, we're lucky the sink is right behind us. Let's say the sink is over there. You pick up the knife just like you would cut, put it down your side, and I generally shout out, knife! To let everybody know that I'm walking around with a knife, so they're not surprised when they see a knife.
As opposed to worrying that you're an insane killer.
Yeah.
I see. So you don't walk around with it like this?
No, that's too dangerous. Hey, we forgot something.
What we forget?
Well, we talked about knives, but we didn't talk about, you gotta have a good peeler.
That's right. It's very appealing.
It is really appealing. And nice, comfortable grip. And some people also have the little curved one.
Uh-huh.
No, it's more the European style. See, then you have to hold your vegetables like that and peel. Actually, I prefer this. This is more of a natural motion.
And I actually
towards you.
I actually prefer the stick peelers that don't have the movable blades. You see this one flips up and down. And
Oh,
that's,
really?
And that a lot of people really like this. Like I know you really like
I
this.
like this.
My first choice is to have a stiff blade because it's easier for me to control how much I'm peeling. These will just automatically adjust to the food.